I am John Podesta. I'm the president of the Center for American Progress. And from its inception, the Center has believed that reform of our public education system was central to building an economy of strong, sustainable growth and a country of opportunity where every child could pursue the American dream. We believe that to close the twin achievement gaps, one between the rich and poor at home and another at the international level between American students and students in other countries, we needed to reject the status quo. We have agitated to shake things up. We have been impatient. We have pushed to ensure that every child is afforded access to a high-quality school and to effective teachers. So it may be a bit surprising that I'm here to introduce a president of a powerful union that has often been portrayed in the media as a protector of the status quo. But it is an honor to introduce Randi Weingarten, who this morning continues the process of throwing her personal stature and the weight of the American Federation of Teachers behind the need to reform, the need to improve education in school districts throughout this country. I'd like to commend Randi for her courageous leadership and willingness to challenge status quo policies when they don't work well for students. As I've noted, education has been a priority issue for CAP because we have always believed that for every individual, a high-quality education offers the promise of economic mobility, the ladder to higher income, greater opportunity, and civic engagement. Yet today, we're failing to provide that ladder for too many students. Just to cite a few data points, in October, the United States Department of Education released a report showing that test scores of the nation's fourth graders have remained painfully flat over the last 2 years, and achievement gaps remain stagnant as well. While 51% of white fourth graders perform at or above proficient level in mathematics, only 16% of black fourth grade students are proficient in math. Only about a third of eighth graders are proficient in math across the country. Most high schools graduate little more than two-thirds of their students on time. Just 2,000 high schools, which we refer to as dropout factories, account for half the nation's high school dropouts. Even the students who do receive a high school diploma often lack adequate skills, and more than a third of first-year college students require remediation in the academic basics. So despite decades of efforts to increase spending and improve standards, state and districts must do much more to create a system that rewards success and addresses shortcomings. In November, we released a state report card with the Chamber of Commerce and Rick Hess from the American Enterprise Institute that graded states on their policies to promote innovation. We focused on innovation because our interest was in whether states are creating the systems, the culture, the opportunities necessary for the reinvention of our nation's school system. Our findings, I have to say, were disappointing. However, we are newly encouraged by a number of state actions as they prepare to compete for the new federal Race to the Top funds. But all the innovation in the world won't work if students don't have effective teachers. CAP has been a leader in promoting the importance of effective teachers, particularly for students living in poverty. In fact, since research has demonstrated that if students have an outstanding teacher as opposed to a weak teacher, they can make up as much as a full year growth in achievement. Improving the quality of teaching in high-poverty schools has the potential to dramatically close the achievement gap. So CAP is focused on developing and promoting policies that improve teacher effectiveness and attract and retain effective teachers to the schools that need them the most. We've highlighted the need for rigorous teacher evaluation systems, meaningful tenure processes, and high-quality, innovative alternative certification programs. We've also promoted differential pay for teachers, including pay for performance, additional pay for effective teachers who teach in challenging schools, pay for teachers who take on additional responsibilities, such as mentoring other teachers, and pay for teachers who teach in subject shortage areas, such as math and science. To be successful, these policies must be developed in partnership with teachers and their representatives. This is true not only because implementation will be smoother with teachers on board, but also because teachers bring an invaluable on-the-ground perspective to discussions about policy designs. They have critical insights that only working daily in schools and with students can provide. That's why we've always maintained and valued an open dialogue with both the AFT and the NEA to share ideas and listen to their critiques as we think through our policy agenda. But to make change happen, a critique of reformers is not enough. We need innovation and action. And that's why leadership from Randi and the AFT will go a long way in helping to spread innovative policies and practices that ensure every child has access to an effective teacher. I'm looking forward to hearing about their new ideas and initiatives and working in partnership with them to support their implementation. As you all know, Randi Weingarten is the president of the 1.4 million member American Federation of Teachers. She was elected in July of 2008 following 11 years of service as an AFT vice president, a teacher of history at Clara Barton's High School in Brooklyn's Crown Heights. Randi served for 12 years as president of the United Federation of Teachers, UFT, AFT Local 2, representing approximately 200,000 non-supervisory educators in the New York City public school systems. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Randi Weingarten.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you all, and I really want to thank John Podesta, who is one of these remarkable people in life where he goes through public service, private sector, and all in each and every single step has made the world and our country a fairer, a more just, and a better place for decent people. Thank you, John. So I'm not going to do any other acknowledgments because then I would be acknowledging everyone in this audience. I very much thank you for being here, and I thank you for your focus and work to do the most important work, which is public education and giving our kids a great start in life. So on the west side of Philadelphia, in a plain building surrounded by graffiti-covered walls and boarded-up houses, a team of inner-city kids is hard at work building the ultimate car of the future. Among them are kids who may have fallen through the cracks somewhere else. But at the Auto Academy at West Philadelphia High School, they're building hybrid cars that, according to Popular Mechanics, are among the top 10 entries in a $10 million contest to design the next generation of green cars. They're the only high school team in a competition that includes the likes of Tesla Motors, Cornell University, and even MIT. That is, until West Philly beat out MIT to move to the next round. These students are developing vehicles powered by biodiesel and electric motors, and the cars go from 0 to 60 in less than 4 seconds. Thanks to great teachers, the West Philly kids are learning about engineering, design, and business fundamentals, concrete skills for today's economic realities. They're developing habits of the mind and learning real-life skills. They're gaining confidence that will help them reach their full potential in life. They're learning values that will inspire them to make meaningful contributions to their communities. This is the kind of education that all our public school students deserve. But in too many places, our public education system, which educates over 90% of our children, still operates on an industrial age model. And in too many schools, No Child Left Behind has made it worse, creating the pedagogical equivalent of a factory, reducing the learning experience to a conveyor belt of rote prep sessions and multiple choice tests. Don't get me wrong. We need to set high standards for students and teachers. We need to measure what students learn. And we need to shine a light, as John just did, on the students and the schools that have been left behind for far too long. But in a global knowledge economy, filling in the bubbles on a standardized test isn't going to prepare our children to succeed in life. If we're going to thrive in the 21st century, our entire approach to education must change from what goes on in the classroom to how we care for children's well-being to how labor and management work together. This, my friends, is the time to shed the old conflicts and come together. This is the time to forge a new path for our public schools and change public education for a changing world. This morning, I'd like to suggest a new path forward towards a 21st century education system. This is a serious and comprehensive reform plan to transform our schools and to ensure great teaching that prepares our children for productive, successful, and meaningful lives. Shortly after I became president of the AFT, I gave a speech here at the National Press Club in which I said anyone who advanced any idea that's good for kids and fair to teachers would find a partner in the AFT. Then as now, I was clear that no issue should be off the table with the single exception of vouchers, which drains vital resources from public schools. Some took us up on that offer, and in those places we're seeing teachers, administrators, parents, and elected officials work side by side to help their students reach greater heights. But others have ignored our offer to work in common purpose. They have chosen instead to fixate on the supposed silver bullet of doing away with bad teachers. The problem with the so-called bad teacher refrain isn't that it's too harsh or too unforgiving, or that it obscures the fact that ineffective teachers are far outnumbered by their effective peers. The problem is it's too limited. It fails to recognize that we have a systems problem. Today, I'm proposing 4 initiatives that I believe will help us develop and support great teachers and make new progress for our schools and our children. First, I'm unveiling a new template for teacher development and evaluation, a constructive, meaningful, and ongoing system that incorporates standards and best practices for the teaching profession, and yes, student outcomes. Second, I'm putting forward a new approach to due process. Third, I'll share my thoughts on what teachers need to help students succeed, the tools, the time, the trust to do their jobs well. Fourth, I'll discuss the changing labor management relationship. More importantly, how to change that relationship, because that is the foundation we need to make each of these other ideas work. As president of a labor union, it is my job to represent my members. They make it easy because of their extraordinary commitment to providing their students with the best education possible. Now, last summer, we asked our members the following question in a poll, and I quote it. When your union deals with issues affecting both teacher quality and teachers' rights, which of these should be the higher priority, working for professional teaching standards and good teaching, or defending the job rights of teachers who face disciplinary action? By a margin of 4-1, 69% to 16%, AFT members chose working for professional standards and good teaching as the higher priority. Surprising to some in this room, not to me. I know my members. They want to do what's best for their students, and they want to be treated like professionals. No teacher, myself included, wants ineffective teachers in the classroom. Schools are communities where we build on each other's work. When a teacher is floundering, there are not only repercussions for the students, but for the teachers down the hall. When it comes to those teachers who shouldn't be in the classroom, it's the other teachers who are the first to speak up. They and the AFT want a fair, transparent, and expedient process. Fair, transparent, and expedient to identify and deal with ineffective teachers. But they know we won't have it if we don't have an evaluation system that is comprehensive and robust and really tells us who is and is not an effective teacher. That is essential for a fair and efficient due process system. One won't work without the other. And that is why we will continue to oppose those who believe that simply subjectively removing teachers is a replacement for a true teacher development and evaluation system. So this brings me to my first proposal for constructive and robust teacher evaluation, the creation of a system that would inform tenure, employment, and due process decisions and proceedings. Look, our system of evaluating teachers has never been adequate. For too long and too often, teacher evaluation in both design and implementation has failed to achieve what must be its basic and most important goal: continuously improving and informing teaching so as to better educate all students. Right now, as many of you in this room know, this is how teachers are commonly evaluated. An administrator sits in the back of the classroom for a few minutes, a few times in the first few years of teaching. The teacher then receives a rating at the end of the school year. That is like a football team watching game tape once the season is over. Think about that game tape for a minute. Coaches and players view it throughout the season and in preparation for every game. Why? To deconstruct and understand what's working and what isn't working so that the necessary changes can be made. The goal is constant improvement and, of course, winning, unlike my Giants. We need to put the same time and effort into developing and evaluating teachers. And we need to ensure that the women and men who teach our children are participants in every stage of this process. That's what we mean when we say do things with us, not to us. Some suggest, as I hear frequently, even last night, we simply evaluate teachers based on a single piece of data. But how does that improve student learning if that's all we do? Yes, we must use good and meaningful data, but the real value of data is to show us what is working and should be replicated, and what isn't working and should be abandoned. We propose, as a result, rigorous reviews by trained experts and peer evaluators and principals based on professional teaching standards, best practices, and student achievement. The goal is to lift whole schools and systems, to help promising teachers improve, to enable good teachers to be great, and to identify those teachers who shouldn't be in the classroom at all. This new process will allow informed evaluations rather than simply offering a snapshot from a brief classroom visit or one standardized test score. Our framework has been developed by union leaders from around the country, some of whom are in this room today, with input from some of America's top teacher evaluation experts, like Charlotte Danielson, Susan Moore Johnson, Tom Kane, and others that you have in the press kit. This work, is already underway in places like Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Hillsborough County, Florida. AFT unions, including the recipients of the AFT Innovation Grants, are partnering with school districts to transform teacher evaluation from a perfunctory waste of time into a powerful catalyst for student achievement. Our evaluation proposal includes the following key specific components. First, every state should adopt basic professional teaching standards that districts can augment to meet specific community needs. Standards should spell out what teachers should know and be able to do. How else can we determine whether a teacher is performing as she should? Second, To assess how well teachers meet these standards, multiple means of evaluation should be used because teaching requires multiple skills and involves several types and kinds of work. Classroom observations, self-evaluations, portfolio reviews, appraisal of lesson plans, and all the other tools we use to measure student learning, such as written work, performances, presentations, and projects. All of those should be considered in these evaluations. Student test scores, based on valid and reliable assessments, should also be considered, not by comparing the scores of last year's students with the scores of this year's students, but by assessing whether a teacher's students shows real growth in his classroom. Next, implementation benchmarks must be established because even the best ideas do little more than gather dust if we don't put them in action. Take California. It has long-standing but little-used professional standards. At the very least, principals and superintendents charged with implementing this new evaluation system need to take responsibility and be held responsible for making it work. Finally, because evaluation should help teachers improve throughout their careers, not just at the beginning, every district should have ways to support and nurture teacher growth. This includes solid induction, mentoring, ongoing professional development, and career opportunities that keep great teachers in the classroom. We believe that a system built on the components I just laid out will make teacher development and evaluation a tool to improve teaching and learning, and will lay the groundwork for a new approach to due process. And let me say this: we are prepared to work with any district willing to work with us to take both steps. Number one, to design and implement a real teacher development evaluation system, and number two, to create a due process system that is aligned to it, but only if they are willing to do both. Now today, I also want to address the question of due process in those cases when teachers are accused of misconduct or malfeasance. Again, let me be clear. Teachers have zero tolerance for people who, through their conduct, demonstrate they are unfit for our profession. And in those rare cases of serious misconduct, we all agree teachers should be removed from the classroom immediately. Just as there is a need for due process when dealing with ineffective teachers, there's a need for due process in cases of alleged teacher misconduct. False allegations do happen, and they destroy much more than a teacher's livelihood. A false allegation can destroy a teacher's life. We recognize, however, that too often due process can become glacial process, and we intend to change that. We will lead the way in developing a fair, efficient protocol for adjudicating questions of teacher discipline and, when called for, teacher removal. I'm pleased to announce that Ken Feinberg has agreed to spearhead the AFT's efforts. As you know, Mr. Feinberg is a trusted voice, trusted as a voice of fairness and reason in some of America's most consequential issues. He served as Special Master of the September 11th Victim Compensation Fund and currently serves as Special Master for the TARP Executive Compensation. We look forward to working with Mr. Feinberg on this critical undertaking. The third proposal. Creating a fair and constructive evaluation system and designing a fresh approach to due process have the potential to initiate important improvements in education. However, if our goal is to truly transform our public education system, we cannot stop there. What have we done about the list of challenges Secretary of Education Arne Duncan recently laid out in a speech to the United States Chamber of Commerce? And I quote, "Everything from low standards to weak curriculum, absent parents to unmotivated students, underfunded schools, and limited education options? The short answer is not enough. At the very least, we must make sure that teachers have what they need to do a good job: tools, time, and trust. Let's begin with tools, what teachers need to do their jobs. Every day, teachers do what they can with what they have to make a difference in the lives of students. But neither they nor their students will thrive in an environment that is not conducive to teaching or learning. So let's offer teachers and students an environment that sets everyone up for success. Small classes, safe schools, solid curriculum, healthy and adequate facilities, including the most current technology, and opportunities for parent involvement. And let's hold schools and school systems accountable for providing our teachers and students the conditions they need to succeed. Tools also means getting standards right once and for all. That's why we support, at the AFT, common standards that are deeper, clearer, and fewer, and are geared towards preparing our students for college, work, and life. Another crucial factor in fostering student growth and teacher success is time. Let's face it, teachers have plenty on their plates just trying to get through the day. They spend hours outside of the school day grading papers, creating lesson plans, communicating with parents, and participating in student activities. Increasingly, just talk to teachers. You'll see this and hear this. More and more is piled onto them, so they often feel like they're running faster and faster just to hold their ground. For teachers who already work long after they leave the office, time to share and grow and work together is as critical as any other education ingredient. Imagine a system in which teachers have time to come together to resolve student issues, share lesson plans, analyze student work, discuss successes and failures, and learn through high-quality professional development. Imagine a system where students can't fall through the cracks because they're backed by a team of teachers, not just the one in front of the room. In addition to tools and time, we must foster a climate of trust. Teachers must be treated as partners in reform with a real voice. Now, trust is not something you can write into a law or write into a contract. Trust is the natural outgrowth of collaboration and communication. And it's the common denominator among schools, districts, and cities that have achieved success. A teacher from West Virginia said it well, and I quote her, "I've put my heart and soul into the education of these children daily for over 20 years. I know what works. Just respect me enough to ask." Again, let me be perfectly clear. Tools, time, and trust are as important as any other elements that I have enunciated in this speech. Finally, let me talk about labor and management, those of us charged with educating our kids. We have a mutual responsibility to ensure student and school success. The just completed application process for the federal Race to the Top grants has exposed the fault lines in many labor management relationships. A program designed to put a premium on collaboration among stakeholders has in too many instances done just the opposite. All of this must change. We must transform this mutual responsibility into a mutual commitment. Our relationship, that between teachers and their bosses, should be a constant conversation that begins long before and continues long after we leave the bargaining table. So much of what is bargained is an attempt to codify behavior that in a trusting relationship would never need to be codified. If we adhere to this vestige of the factory model, there will be no sustainable, positive change in public education. Collective bargaining should be a tool to implement our relationship rather than what defines the relationship. Labor and management must deeply understand our shared responsibility to our communities. Great schools, skilled teachers, and well-prepared students can only be achieved through that partnership. Towards that end, collective bargaining should be used not simply as a vehicle to protect employee rights and ensure workplace fairness. It's a vehicle for both sides to improve teacher quality, to ensure school improvement, and to establish rigorous academic standards. I've seen this all over the country. I've seen teachers and administrators who share the same goals for kids agree to modify, waive, or create new contract provisions and district regulations that enable them to work more effectively. We've seen it in New Haven, Connecticut, and our local leader is here from New Haven. It wasn't easy at first to establish trust. He's smiling. Even Mayor John DiStefano admitted that he was ready for conflict at the beginning. But as the process went on, the mayor engaged with the union in a collaborative way. The result? A contract that achieves real reform, making teachers real partners in that effort. The agreement includes reforms like rigorous evaluations, more flexible hiring authority, and performance pay on a school-by-school basis with a cost of living raise. And the vote? 855 in favor, 39 opposed. Try getting a vote like that in Congress. And in Detroit, where the school system faced serious budget challenges, they could have declared bankruptcy and declared war. Instead, and our leader from Detroit is here as well, the union and the district worked together to establish a covenant that outlined the goals for their new contract, a contract that now includes comprehensive evaluation systems, school-based performance bonuses, a contract that recognizes that the school system, the city, and its children sink or swim together. These successes would not have happened without fundamental changes in the relationship between labor and management in those cities. These relationships need to be nurtured and expanded, and new relationships all over the country need to be built if we want to see more success. As a first step, let's replicate a good idea the Obama administration established in the federal sector. On December 9th, the White House issued an executive order creating a forum for labor and management to come together to improve the delivery of federal services by first improving their working relationship. As the order states, and I quote, "A non-adversarial forum for managers, employees, and employees' union representatives to discuss government operations will promote satisfactory labor relations and improve the productivity and effectiveness of the federal government." End quote. We would like to see governors, mayors, school boards, teacher unions, and of course other stakeholders start building protocols and trust for their labor management relationship in order to better deliver children that most essential and fundamental right, a great education. So, again, towards this end, I've written this morning to the National Governors Association, the United States Conference of Mayors, the Council of Chief State School Officers, the American Association of School Administrators, the National School Boards Association, the National Association of State Boards of Education, and the Council of Great City Schools, asking that they join us to construct a mechanism on the state and local levels similar to that created by the executive order. The Council of Great City Schools and the AFT have already started some of this work by identifying districts and union partners that can work together to implement the common high academic standards I spoke of earlier. If we can work together on these 4 proposals, we can create a path to a stronger public education system that is defined by excellence, fairness, shared responsibility, and trust. A system rooted in the realities of the 21st century, focused squarely on the needs of our children and preparing them to reach their full potential as workers, citizens, and individuals. All over the country, what we're trying to say is this: the door is open. Let's work together to make progress for our children. Because at the end of the day, education doesn't happen in the corridors of power in Washington, D.C., or in state capitals. And change won't occur just because lawmakers and talking heads say it should. True progress takes place in those important hours when students and teachers come together and the spark of learning can catch light. As we meet here today, more than 3 million public school teachers are working in classrooms across this country, helping young minds embrace new facts, new skills, and new ways of thinking. They get up early, they go to bed late, and they bring their patience, their dedication, and energy to one of the most important jobs in life. Helping those kids at West Philly High School build not just vehicles but minds that will change their lives in the world, ensuring that students in Detroit can rise and bring their city with them, that is who teachers are. We need to listen to them. Like Emily Graham from Michigan, again I quote, "I teach because I care. I teach because I know I make a difference. I teach because I place a high value on children and believe in my heart that it should be of the utmost priority to teach this generation how important education is. I teach because I want to change the world. I teach because it is my love, it is my passion, and it is my future." As a former high school teacher, I can add my words to Emily's. There isn't anything more magical than the small miracles that take place every day in the classroom. Our job, collectively, is to make sure that everything is in place for those daily miracles to occur. And it's a job I know we can do successfully together. Thank you very much.